Okay, welcome to part two. And like I said, I have Laurie Bisby here with me today, a fantastic Dr. Bisby, who's a relationship expert. And we've been talking about, can my marriage survive infidelity, or can my marriage survive adultery? So if you haven't listened to part one, go over, listen to part one and catch up with us in part two. So Laurie, we were just talking about infidelity and long-term infidelity, and the ones where it's short-term, like a one-night stand. And
Mhm.
also you said that, with the serial cheaters where, somebody, a lady sleeps with, cheats over and over again, for example, that constitutes long-term infidelity because of the ongoing lies that happen within a relationship. One of the things that, I have loads of questions. I could go on forever about this subject because it's a huge one. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, how do you know that someone is cheating?
I mean, there are a variety of ways, but I just think of it as just think about how you know that somebody's lying,
Okay.
because there's nothing really different about it. It doesn't usually take looking through their texts and looking through their pocket. In the old days, we didn't have
We didn't
texts.
have
In the
texts.
old days, people wrote down phone numbers,
Yeah.
matchbook covers, and they were in their pockets. And yes, I am that old. So
Me too.
yeah, so people would go through there's the stereotypical the wife is at home and going through her husband's pockets and things.
Briefcase. Yeah.
Yeah, to try and find clues. If somebody starts suddenly taking a really big interest in how they look,
Hmm.
and you haven't had the conversation with them about that, I would be suspicious. That's often something that happens is that people start to care. They want to look their best because they've got a new person to
Yeah.
impress. If they pull away more, that's something to be concerned about. But it really is about looking at the normal things you would look for when you know somebody is lying.
I
How do you
think.
know? They feel more distant.
Yeah.
They're doing less things with you. They're tripping themselves up on their stories.
Yeah. I think the way you put it and just said, the same way you would know if someone's lying, just says it all, really. And there's always that thing. I don't know if he is. I just feel like he is, or I'm not sure if she is. It's just things that she's done or she's saying. Um, so the big question when we started the interview was, can a marriage actually survive infidelity?
Yes, it can. It's very hard work. And I think actually the question should be, should the marriage survive infidelity? And I
That's a
know
good,
that's a
yeah.
strange way of putting it, but infidelity is often a symptom. It's a big way of saying things are not right here. This is not working. If Particularly if you knew it was a deal breaker when you started. I mean, in some couples it's not. In some couples it's not that big a deal. But if you knew when you started the relationship that the one thing the person couldn't stand was lying, and you've been lying, that's usually says, look, there's something really wrong with this relationship. In those sorts of cases, people don't usually survive
Okay.
because what happens at that point is everything that's been wrong comes out. And unfortunately, not in an
I
easy way
see.
to work on
I
it.
see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah.
But in other cases, like the sort of one night stand or admitting infidelity at the beginning of a relationship, people can choose to work on it
Yeah.
and work hard and rebuild trust, and they do survive.
And do you think, and when they go for this is, I have somebody on the divorcemagazine.co.uk who actually wrote about infidelity. And one of the things she said, or he said, because they did it anonymously, so I'm not sure if it's a he or a she, said that they don't believe that couple counseling comes into the picture because it's one person who's cheated. That when you go in as a couple to do couple counseling, so if I'm the one who's cheated and my husband says, look, we need to work on this, let's go see Laurie. The person who wrote this article's view was, actually, he doesn't need to come because the issue is not with him, it's with me. I'm the
No,
one who needs to go and deal with, my own cheating stories.
the issues in the relationship.
Okay.
There may be individual issues as well, but the issue is also in the relationship. So what I suggest is that initially go see a couples specialist.
Okay.
If the couple specialist is good, the couple will evaluate not only the relationship but the individuals and be able to give advice as to whether or not it's the individual needs to do some work. For example, I had one couple where the infidelity did go on for some time. There had been plenty of opportunities for there not to be infidelity. There had been opportunities for other partners legitimately within the relationship. And so, and for people who don't know, there are many relationships that are polyamorous.
Yeah.
There are many relationships that are also open, where couples actually contract about what kinds of interactions are okay. So despite there being all these opportunities for relationships outside of the marriage, the person chose to lie over a long period of time.
Okay.
And part of that came from a bunch of childhood issues and issues about intimacy.
Okay.
So that was an appropriate time to say, okay, well, while the couple may need to work on these certain issues, actually, the person who was lying found it impossible to communicate honestly.
Okay.
It wasn't just lying about infidelity. There was lying all over the place. She grew up in a home where lying was normal.
Yeah.
You didn't have conflict. What you did was you lied. I know some Asian cultures, East Asian cultures, people don't say no very easily. So what you'll get is you ask somebody to do something and they'll say yes and not do it. And the reason is because saying no is losing face.
I see. Okay.
So there's all sorts of reasons why someone may have a great deal of difficulty being upfront.
Yeah.
And in that sort of situation, before the couple could work on the issues together, she needed to get honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So she needed to go off and do her own work.
Yeah. And is it fair to say, once a cheat, always a cheat?
No.
Okay.
No. I have seen relationships end with infidelity.
Yes. But
the relationship was actually over long before that.
Yeah.
The infidelity was the clue. This is done.
That's why you said it's a symptom.
Yeah. So it was sort of, okay, I've been unfaithful. I really need out of this relationship. And the person will end the relationship, getting into another relationship and be perfectly faithful. But some people are serial adulterers.
Yeah.
Some people do in every relationship. Some people have difficulty with intense intimacy, so they split their intimacy. Mm-hmm. Other people actually contract. I mean, that is always an option, is to actually have the discussion. Well, is it okay to have multiple partners? And if so, what are the rules around that? Okay. So it's not always.
Yeah, you mentioned that this contract, this discussion is something that it's one of the, when you decide, okay, hey, let's get married, where are we going to live, how many children, how are they going to be brought up? Are they going to be brought up with religion, with no religion, and all of that?
Yep.
That this discussion about other people in the relationship, that what infidelity actually means to them.
That should happen at the time that they're making all those sorts of decisions. You should be talking about not only about all of the practical issues and your values. You talk about all of your values. What are your values in relationship? What's important to you in terms of intimacy? Do you want that person to be the only person that you tell your secrets to? Or do you want, we talked about emotional infidelity, emotional adultery earlier. And it's like, well, actually, do you not want to hear your husband's worries about potency and you want him to tell that to his friend, or be it male or female? Yeah. Or do you want to know that you're the keeper of the secrets? Those are the sorts of things you can explore at the time that you're engaged. I work with couples when they're deciding to make a relationship long term. Then that may not actually be formally married. They may be deciding to cohabit long term. But actually sitting them down and saying, okay, so spend the same amount of time discussing the rules of your relationship. How are you going to resolve conflict? What if? Yeah. If I say for better or worse, what if you develop an illness that means that sexual intimacy isn't possible anymore?
Then what happens?
What then? And actually spend the time, and I've had people do it ritually and set up a special time and space over the period before they move in together or over the engagement period to actually spend that time. And then say to couples, well, we all talk about things like a 7-year itch. Thing changes in marriage over time.
Yeah.
Thing changes in relationship over time. Build in a review.
Yeah. Okay.
Decide that you're going to, at 7 years, sit down, renegotiate things.
Because
These are
things
actual
change.
real contracts.
Yeah. Things change, and I think also people change. Like if I was getting married and I said, let's say 10 years ago, right? And I would say to myself, I would say, okay, yeah, infidelity is out of the question. It's not going to happen. I would not, tolerate it in any shape or form. Then we move in, we get married, we move in together. And then slowly with growing and everything like that, so 10 years, 12 years, maybe 7 years even, I realized that actually, you know what? It wouldn't be such a big deal if he went ahead and cheated on me. It wouldn't be such a big deal as much as I thought 2 or 3 or 10 years ago. Now I know better, it would happen, and we can work through it. So the review idea is actually quite a good one, because you do change. You don't stay the same.
Well, and it's about taking stock of your life.
Yeah.
People lose track of each other. One of the worst times for this is if you have a family and all the children are in the home and all the attention. I mean, one of the things I work with on people is making sure that they keep attention within their relationship as well,
Yes.
and intimacy in the relationship, and everything isn't all about the kids.
Yes.
But the time when the kids are leaving and suddenly you're left with each other, and you haven't been with each other for at least 18 years,
That's asking for a divorce.
you'd be surprised how many couples just suddenly have problems then.
Yes.
Because they actually haven't been communicating as people.
That's very true.
Only parents. How many couples, and people laugh when I say this, do you actually use your partner's name, or is that mommy or daddy?
That's very true. Oh my gosh, we're going to stop right there and come to part 3 and carry on with that one.
Okay.